Sleep is the foundation for our lives. Just like food and water, we need it to survive. But then, why does 62% of the world have trouble sleeping, and how can we fix that? I've spent the last few months researching and trying out different methods to help me sleep each night.
And what I found was actually really surprising. First, you need to be consistent, and that's where a routine comes in. All of these upcoming tips rely on that.
A lot of times we send mixed messages to our body. We pump it full of caffeine, keep our minds stimulated late into the day, and we don't give ourselves time to settle down. You need to teach your body that this is the time to go to bed, and that's what a routine does.
When creating an evening routine, you need to decide on a sleep schedule first. I'm not going to sit here and say that you need to go to bed at 9 p.m. and get up at 5 a.m. That's just not realistic for everybody.
Figure out what sleep schedule works the best for your life. You also need to find out how much sleep your specific body needs, but I would recommend not going below 7 hours if you can.
But how do you stay consistent and actually know you're getting enough sleep?
Well, for the next tip, I recommend you track it. I use an app called AutoSleep, which monitors all kinds of stats about my sleep. My heart rate, my deep and light sleep, how often I get up, and how long it took me to fall asleep. This can be really helpful in giving you insight into how well you're actually sleeping.
So the key is to not overanalyze these trackers.
So I actually ignore the sleep number that they give you, because some mornings I wake up feeling refreshed and the number says 42 out of 100, and I might think, wow, it says I didn't sleep well, so maybe I shouldn't feel fine. So just be careful how much you read into the data. You also need to be careful with caffeine. I mentioned it earlier, but drinking caffeine later in the day really sends mixed signals to your body. Yeah, for some, drinking caffeine right before bed doesn't seem to stop them from going to sleep, but for most of us, caffeine is a quick way to toss and turn for most of the night. Even if you manage to fall asleep with caffeine, studies have shown that it can also worsen your sleep quality.
Keep in mind that caffeine can stay in your system for up to 10 hours.
If you have it around 2 p.m., it can still be in you until midnight. That was the mistake that I was making when I drank caffeine in the afternoon as a quick pick-me-up. Now I try to avoid it after 11 a.m. if possible. That way I know if I get to bed around 10, it won't play a part in keeping me awake. When I was about 24 years old, I traveled to Japan. My parents had moved there a couple years prior, so I went to visit them. And after almost 24 hours of traveling, I was jet-lagged and exhausted. Now, one thing to know about my parents, they like to keep their places really cold. So when I got to their condo in Tokyo, it was freezing. I remember I forced myself to stay awake until nighttime, and then I curled up under those sheets. It was the best sleep of my life.
And that's when I started making sure my bedroom was nice and cold before I went to sleep.
So why do we sleep better in a cold room? For one thing, it lowers your core temperature, making it easier to get deep sleep. It also helps with melatonin production, and it keeps your sleep cycles from being interrupted. The ideal room temperature should be between 60 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
If you're enjoying this list so far, be sure to hit the like button below. And while your cursor's down there, consider hitting the subscribe button. It's free and you can always change your mind.
In the last few years, I've really gotten into making loose leaf teas. My favorite is a SLEEPYTIME blend from the Full Leaf Tea Company. It's all part of my routine to tell my body it's time to start going to bed. I'll brew it about an hour before I actually want to go to sleep. And it's just a really comforting way to wind down and get a similar effect to taking melatonin supplements. My bedroom is also my office, so I have a ton of devices in there that give off all kinds of lights. Besides being distracting for getting to sleep, there's also studies about how even a little bit of light while sleeping can harm your health over time, increasing your heart rate, disrupting your metabolism, and other side effects. If you're like me and you have lots of blinking lights coming from all of your devices, try using some blackout tape. I actually have a link down in the description for the one right here, and it works great. Street lights, however, can't be blocked out by tape. For that, I'd recommend getting blackout curtains or even a sleeping mask.
Now, this one might not be for everybody, but I personally can't sleep in silence.
I always have a fan turned on in my bedroom, and typically I'll play meditation music in the background as well. Because I live in a townhouse, I can usually hear some type of noise even late at night. So having white noise really helps mask these noises you might hear in a busy neighborhood or household.
So if you're also a light sleeper who frequently wakes up, give white noise a try.
Another reason you might be restless during your bedtime is a lack of physical activity throughout your day. I notice on days that I get less than 5,000 steps, I would usually struggle to fall asleep. Now, you don't have to go crazy and exercise hours each day to see the effects. Just start by trying to add a couple of 10-minute walks into your day.
But if you want to guarantee that you'll be sleepy by bedtime, then watch this video here where I walked 20,000 steps a day for a month. I'll go through step by step, pun intended, on how I managed to do this while still being a single dad and not having to completely change my life around to make it happen. Wishing you all the best, and I'll see you later.